Hello and welcome to all of our Gold viewers from around the world. I'm Kristen Schwartz, licensed midwife and MC here at Gold Learning and Gold Midwifery. And today I'm chatting with Martina Donaghy about her upcoming presentation here for one of our add-on packages for the Midwifery Conference. Welcome, Martina.
Oh, hi, Kirsten. How are you?
It is wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for joining
you.
us here today. So your presentation is titled Responsive Breastfeeding, the Key to Optimal Infant Development. And I want to get into the topic in just a moment. I want you to tell our viewers, first of all, where in the world are you? And then tell us a little bit about your work and your background.
Okay, so I'm in the UK at the moment, in Essex, which is the southeast of England. And I've been sort of living here for about 30 odd years, but you can tell by my accent that I'm not from the UK originally. So I'm from Australia originally. And I came over to the UK back in sort of the late 1990s and did I was already a nurse, but I did my midwifery over here. And I ended up becoming very interested in lactation after doing a couple of years of midwifery, and I did my International Board Certified Lactation Consultants exam, and sort of never looked back really. Went into infant nutrition in hospitals and taught lots and lots of healthcare workers, and eventually that sort of spurred me on to going into academia and teaching huge amounts of healthcare workers from the last sort of 18 years really in academia. So that's me in a nutshell. Been a midwife for 30 odd years and a lactation consultant for about 22 years now. So I just absolutely love passing on my knowledge and passion about breastfeeding, because I really do feel that breastfeeding has the answer to so much in terms of health.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. And as you mentioned, you're training all these healthcare providers, student midwives now on the benefits of breastfeeding and such. Let me ask you this. You've been doing this for quite a while now, as you just mentioned. How has that education changed? 18 years or 20 years since you've been doing this, at least, right? Have you seen that education shifted from what I've noticed recently is in previous decades or years, I would say, it was taught much more hands-on. You kind of you were taught to, manipulate the breast and take the baby and put the baby on. And that has changed, right? How we teach and how we.
Yeah, it's changed. It's changed a lot. So we teach, we teach two different ways of trying to breastfeed, give some advice to mums really. And it's about baby-led attachment and mother-led attachment. So it's very much hands-off to try and make sure that the mum's able to position and attach the baby herself so that she's got the confidence to go home and be able to continue feeding. But we also know that the baby is so adept at being able to attach to the breast itself. So we very much teach that as well, that, there are two ways to tackle getting a baby on the breast, and that we don't have to constantly formally teach mums about breastfeeding. We need to think about letting the mum watch the baby's instincts and be able to actually get onto the breast itself. So in terms of seeing things change in the last sort of 18 years, I think student midwives have become very adept at helping mums on the postnatal ward and being able to give them the confidence to be able to breastfeed. I think the biggest issues are there's just not enough support in the community. And unfortunately, at the moment, there are big issues in the UK about staff shortages. So unfortunately, that is an issue for mums that are trying to get breastfeeding established. So I think that the onus really is to try and get it right before mums go home.
And that's often is a challenge, because you have to hopefully you're wanting to get it right, because the mom baby go home, and then it's much more difficult to have that contact and get breastfeeding back on track there. I know. And staff shortages, I believe, especially after COVID, I think it's a worldwide phenomenon here in the United States as well. It's it's nurses are midwives, there's just not not enough of them.
No.
And to be able to care for all these families and provide good care and, you know, and a sensitive care too. So to give the confidence, as you mentioned, to the parent to be able to, you know, breast and chest feed. And not only that, it's not just for nutrition, right? And this leads me to the topic here about responsive breastfeeding, the key to optimal infant development you will be talking about in our lecture pack. So talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so looking at responsive feeding, it's really sort of part of a responsive parenting style, and it's a relationship between a mother and baby that supports both, you know, the mother and the baby in terms of their physiology. In terms of infant health, the one main thing it does is it supports lactation, which means that the baby's got forever milk. You know, as mum's lactation is you know, successful, and we know that you know, breast milk helps with brain development. It's obviously, you know, a perfect nutrition for the growth of the baby. It's hugely beneficial in terms of immunological benefits, so supporting the robust development of the immune system. And we also know that, you know, the growth is fantastic with a baby that's responsibly fed, and of course that then protects the baby against obesity going forward. And we know that brain development is crucial for the baby, and lots of contact between mum and baby helps to proliferate all those neural brain cells and all those the neural pathway. And we also know that in terms of attachment, lots of contact really does help with you know, that brain development of forming that loving relationship. So, you know, and looking forward into sort of the global impact of responsive feeding is that, you know, we know that we've got lots of, you know, figures of, you know, hugely, you know, something like, you know, 250,000 projections of obese children in 2030. And we've also got like 127 million children that have got stunted growth. So, and we know that breastfeeding would help both of those categories, you know, to improve. So, you know, responsive breastfeeding is, you know, hugely important for sort of, you know, the growth and the health of our children going forward.
So let me ask you this, is that related to attachment parenting then as well?
Yeah, so an attachment parenting style is where you would have lots of interaction. So despite the fact that you may not be breastfeeding your baby, you can still have an effective parenting style that will help to you know, to grow your baby's brain. But we know that there are certain factors in breast milk that help with that brain development. So it's not just the contact, it's the contents of the breast milk that also helps with that brain development.
Absolutely, absolutely. And how is this going to work for, especially here in the United States, where parents have to often go very soon back to work? You know, so there is no maternity or paternity family leave as such. Some families have to go back as soon as two weeks after the birth of a baby. Is this still doable? Is there some parts that can be, you know, implemented?
Yeah, I think it is doable, but of course that depends on you know, employers giving the women time to express. Of course, you know, to continue to responsibly breastfeed, obviously, if you're separated from your baby, you need to express the milk off to be able to still maintain being able to breastfeed the baby. So that obviously depends on the level of support from your employer, giving you breaks, you know, to enable you to be able to continue to express. I mean, it is doable, but it depends on the support that you get.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Martina, before I let you go, this is very interesting, and I know we could talk for hours here. Do you have any last words for us with regards to the topic?
I think that you know, the topic is enormous, and I think it is really, really large topic, and there is huge amounts of information in the presentation. But I think as we move forward, it's difficult for each individual healthcare professional to be able to change things at a, you know, a global or a national level. But just to think that, you know, each thing you know, each time you give any sort of breastfeeding support, you are helping that one mother and baby dyad to be able to meet its breastfeeding goals. And I think we just all need to sort of come together and just do our bit, really. while we wait for governments to get their act together and to understand the importance of breastfeeding in terms of health.
And you're so right. The little steps count so much, because every family counts, every baby counts, right? It's not only the big policy changes that need to be implemented, but every little, every little step on the way is important. And we know also that babies that were successfully breastfed then also tend to do that when they have their own children.
Yes,
because
indeed.
that kind of is this ripple effect, and hopefully impacts more and more families, and also for the future and decades to come.
Indeed.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Martina, to sit down here with me. And we are very excited about your presentation titled Responsive Breastfeeding, the Key to Optimal Infant Development. This presentation is part of the lecture pack, Clinical Tools for the Changing Landscape of Newborn Care. And this is an add-on package to our Gold Midwifery online conference that we are kicking off on February 6th. So it's just around the corner. So if you, our audience, wants to find out more about this presentation, we invite you to go to goldmidwifery.com. Thank you again, Martina, and
thanks very much
to all of us watching, all of you watching here. Bye-bye, and have a lovely rest of your day.